Well, good evening, everyone. Bit of a different sort of live stream today. I've got a very special guest on today. My friend Ben, who is currently in 36th place overall. How you doing, Ben?
Very well, thanks, mate. Liverpool are Premier League champions. Man United are in the mud, so things are pretty good. How about you, mate?
You very kindly introduced our call before we started the stream by saying that as well, so you rubbed it in
Yeah,
twice.
of course, had to do it. Had to do it.
I think I'm just numb to football pain, to be honest now, mate. Both my teams getting quite far in their respective competitions and then losing at the end. It's been very painful, but it is what it is. It's football, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's why we love it. I'm sure. I mean, Bristol are probably in a better place than United, so maybe next season for them.
There you go. I've had a lot of stick as well from people asking me, do I support two teams? So I've had to come clean to a load of new followers that I follow two teams as well, which has been quite embarrassing.
I don't think it's too. Maybe it's because I'm Irish and not English. I don't think it's as big a deal. There's plenty of people back at home that support two teams, so I'm used to it.
So I guess the first question or thing I'll ask you to talk about is, most of the viewers probably haven't come across you before. I know you've probably been on this channel talking about other games in the past. I think we may have had you on a couple of years ago. But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and your fantasy football history.
Yeah, so started playing fantasy games, I think about 2017, maybe 2018. I've always played FPL and Sky back when it existed. And always sort of Sky was my main focus. Just because, as I'm sure we'll get into later, the prizes in Sky were more promising. And I also liked the sort of captain every day, and there was a really smaller community in it, so it was good fun. But then I also got involved with Fan Team. I think I came on a Sky podcast and maybe a Fan Team podcast with you and Sam in the past. And then yeah, obviously Sky, rest in peace, died at the start of this or at the end of last season. So kind of be putting more focus into FPL. But honestly, surprisingly, probably not as much focus as I put into it last season. But things have just seemed to have gone quite well this year. So yeah, pretty happy with it.
We'll let people in the chat chime in with your questions as well. Feel free to chime in with questions, those that are in the chat. But I guess my main question to you, if you could, like, to be in 36th place is absolutely incredible. And are you able to put a finger on like a few moments this season that have really propelled you up there, or has it just been consistently I guess you've consistently scored well every week to get there?
Yeah, well, I had a look at my game week history, and weirdly, like I've only had, I think it was 11 red arrows all season, and most of them are fairly small.
Mm.
I think I've been in the top 10K from about halfway into the season, and then I kind of fell out of it for a little bit and then came back up. But really, I think the big turning point for me was wild card in, was it 28 that everyone used it? I think
Right.
when I went for Eze over Sar, and I think that was like the
That's
big for
killed
me.
me.
I think
That
that was the
has
big decision.
absolutely.
Yeah, and like it was literally just a moment of I had the money and I thought Eze's got the history. I think I was kind of thinking of Sar, wasn't it him at Watford when everyone triple captained him, or was it someone else? I can't remember, but I just felt like Sar didn't feel reliable enough for me. I thought it was a bit like the purple patch,
Yeah, fair
whereas
enough.
like Eze had the history. I mean, like I had the money, so I was just like I might as well go for it. And yeah, obviously that's ended up being incredible. I mean, even this past game week, like when he came off the bench, I was like, oh, that's just taking away my Ruben Diaz clean sheet off the bench because I'd started Eze and not Diaz, and then City conceded and Eze scored, and all of a sudden it flipped, and it's
Well,
just
that was
like
a winner for you as
that's
well. Yeah.
another 5 or 6 ranks. So yeah, no, it's good. I think he's been my star player, and also in fairness, probably Mateta. I got on Mateta like way before wildcard. Probably I think I've had Mateta almost half the season. So I think he's been a pretty big player for me as well.
Yeah, I remember Mateta absolutely, well, not this season, but towards the end of last season was an absolute legend for me. And I remember when I went on FPL therapy, I think, well, back in probably would have been beginning of February, somewhere around there. I remember Ross was really big on Mateta at the time because of the fixtures that he had coming up. So sounds like you guys did quite well out of Mateta.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I think he's one of those players now where I think if you've got him, you've probably got to get rid. I got rid of him either last week or the week before. Oh no, I think it was last week for Watkins.
Yeah, I did
Um,
the same. Yeah.
and I think yeah, now I mean, playing Liverpool. I mean, I think, to be honest, I think the game on Sunday is going to be like a mental, like 4-3, but you just don't know who's going to start. So I think he would be sort of top of my list to get rid of, as much as he's been great this season.
Yeah, fair one. Yeah. I'm just thinking that if you can remember back to the start of the season as well, there was a big call to be made around having Haaland in your team or not. Do you remember, did you pick him or not at the start?
Yeah, so I remember, I mean, if people go back through my tweets, I was so adamant that I wasn't going to own Haaland
Yeah.
and that I was just going to stick with Salah. And I was like, that'll be fine. And in the end, I just thought I'm going to play it safe and have both of them. So, I mean, it's crazy even looking. I've just gone back, like, looking at the team I had, like Trent, Jota. I remember everyone wanted Jota. Eze, funnily enough. Salah, Isak, Haaland. Like, that's a pretty good core team. And Andre Onana, who I've had basically 3/4 of the season. But yeah, so I went with both of them, and I think that was another big thing that helped me. I think I think Salah is the only player that's been in my team from game week 1, and I've never sold him. And then Haaland, I think I just got kind of. I think it was just luck, to be honest. I think there was like any mad skill. I don't think anyone could have predicted what's happened with him this season.
No,
I think I just owned him at the right time and sold him at the right time. And then I've just been lucky when there was, there's been a couple of times this season where it's been like, oh, this might be the time to get back on Haaland, and I've not been able to afford it, and it's just not punished me. So I think, yeah, that's basically what's helped me this season is Haaland not really performing, except for at the start when I had him. I think I missed one hat trick, but apart from that.
Yeah, fair. And I expect at that price as well, even a hat trick's not going to kill you, especially if you've got Salah in your team as captain who's doing what he was this season. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking, sort of. And that was kind of my argument at the start of the season, was owning Haaland, for me, became more stressful than fun. Where it was like, if Haaland scored as your captain in your team, it was more like relief than excitement, because if he didn't score, then it was like hurting you more than if he did score, it was helping you, even if he was low owned, because you're competing with like 4 or 5 different players. Whereas, normally it's like, Salah versus Saka cap, whereas like it's Haaland cap versus Salah cap plus someone already owning Saka on the side as well. And so I think, yeah, he wasn't a fun player to own this season. I think they need to sort his price out next year.
Yeah. What do you reckon? What do you reckon's going to happen between him and Salah? Do you think they'll just swap prices essentially?
I think probably the smartest thing to do would just be put them on the same price.
Yeah.
Whether that's both of them on 15 or maybe bring, meet somewhere in the middle, like 13 or 13.5 or something. I think those two need to be at the same price. And then put like Saka, Palmer at the same price. Like I think that's the way they need to price it.
They're usually quite lenient around the pricing, aren't they? I think they appeal to more of the casual players with their pricing, just so people can get their favourite names in, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in Sky, I would have been surprised. I mean, obviously the prices, we never got prices because it didn't come out, but I would have been surprised if you could have owned Salah and Haaland at the start of the season in Sky this year.
Yeah, there's just been no point. Absolutely. I did have one more question before we went to the chat. I remember talking to you before we actually started the stream. I was asking for what your rank aims are at the end of the season. Could you tell me a little bit about that and what you might be able to win if you got your target rank?
Yeah, so I basically, I mean, look, I never expected to be where I am, and it's crazy to even be thinking about this. But I ideally would love to place in the top 20, because the top 20 then gives you a prize. I'm 11 points away from the guy in 19th. So that feels doable. Now, the problem is everyone is very template, so I think I'm going to have to do something a bit different this week. And I'm quite far away from the guy in 100th or 101st. And I don't really mind if I finish 99th. That's fine. Like, as long as I'm in the top 100, I'd rather have a go at getting top 20. So if I manage to do it, from 11th to 20th, you get the luxurious prizes of an official Nike Club t-shirt, the new EA Sports FC game, and most importantly, an FPL bundle with a rucksack, t-shirt, mug, thermal bottle, stress ball, pen, pad, and keyring.
Massive.
Really pushing the boat out there.
You said the one thing I picked up on there, which I didn't pick up on before, is you get a copy of the new EA Sports FC game. But isn't that essentially the old one? Because the new one comes out in like August, September, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I would hope that it would be
Yeah.
next season's one. I mean, I didn't buy EA Sports FC, whatever it's called now, this year because
Oh, I don't
I
play FIFA
work in
anymore either.
sports
Yeah.
and I play fantasy. It's the last thing I need is my free time being more sports. So yeah, but I mean, if it was free, I'd take it.
Right. Let's see what people have got in the chat. Good evening, Paul. Mike is asking, and by the way, I said this to Ben beforehand. He's pretty open about it, but feel free to not give away stuff if you want to protect your rank, mate. There's no issues there. But Mike is asking, who do you think your captain's going to be for the final week?
Honestly, at the minute, and I'm not just saying this to sort of protect myself, I haven't really given it much thought. I think part of why that I've done well this season is because I tend to try to not overthink it during the week. So there's loads of options, to be honest. I've been pretty set on going Salah. I think for me the standouts are Salah or Bowen. And so I think one of those two are probably the most likely, depending on whoever I think of the two is going to be less owned. I was pretty set on going for Trossard, but because I can't get Saka in one move and I don't want to take a hit. And so I was pretty set on going for Trossard, but then now that Havertz played a little bit at the end of the last game, I think Trossard probably still starts, but I just don't want to risk that. I don't think.
It's too risky now, isn't it? Yeah.
So I think maybe the other alternatives are Semenyo, is another good shout. Or if Isak is out, then rather than going for Evan Nilsson, I might go for Welbeck because Spurs are having their title parade on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be in a good state to play, are they? You're absolutely right.
So that's maybe another option. So I would say it'll be one of those four players, but most likely, yeah, I'd say Salah or Bowen.
Wait, when do you say they're having their title parade? That tomorrow?
So it's tomorrow.
Wow, that's wild. Fair enough.
So, I mean, even they're just going to be knackered. I mean, in fairness, they played a B team against us. Not against us, against who was it they played last week? Villa. And
yes, it was Villa. Yeah,
they looked all right against Villa. But still, I think that's Welbeck's been good this season, so that could be a good.
Yeah, I like it.
Punt.
I like it. Andrew, I think it looks like he's a Sunderland fan. He's worried about his playoff final on Saturday. I'd say you're in a luxurious position to be able to worry about that, mate, as a Bristol City fan. Do you have any thoughts on who's going to win the Championship playoff final?
Well, I hope it's Sunderland. I think that'd be more fun. No offense to Sheffield United fans. My cousin supports Sheffield United, so sorry. But yeah, I think for me, I'd rather Sunderland come up. It's something a bit new, and also like the Tyneside Derby will be class to be in the Premier League. And also I put a little bet on it, so
I'd say the same, to be honest. Paul is asking, what Newcastle midfielder would you buy this week? He's looking at potentially selling Kevin De Bruyne and Murphy.
To be honest, I'm not sure I would buy a Newcastle midfielder. Everton are always a sort of tricky team to play. I think, if you're going to buy a midfielder this week, I think for me, Semenyo is the pretty standout pick, or Clivert if you want to go there.
Yeah.
Or if you don't fancy Bournemouth, then maybe, I don't know, Trossard. Or I'd say that those would be the main ones for me. But if you really want to go for a Newcastle midfielder, Murphy's probably the safest. If we got team news, which we probably will, I'd maybe go Gordon if he's starting, because that would be the biggest differential. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not. I would probably prioritize other teams, to be honest.
I feel reassured that you said Gordon, because I mentioned him in my my punts video that I made this afternoon.
Yeah, I think he's a good shout. Former club and all.
Abbas is just saying congratulations from Toronto. So you got a congrats from Toronto.
Thank you very much.
Laura's in the chat. Good to see you, Laura. Stu, would you sell Palmer or Saka to Bowen for a free transfer?
Definitely Palmer. I'm a bit of a Palmer hater, to be honest. I think he's one of those players that people have held way too long based on, what if? And I don't even know the last time I had Palmer. I think I had him on my free hit. Like, against my better judgment, I kind of went with the popular. Yeah,
same for me. I had the same mindset, yeah.
And he was, exactly how he's been for the past sort of, he scored one goal, I think, since February, and it was the penalty against us. So I don't see any reason to have Palmer anymore, to be honest. And also Nottingham Forest is a pretty difficult game. So yeah, I think I would definitely sell Palmer.
Yeah, rate that. I would agree. I think Matt's joining. He's a former Sky player by the looks of it. Shout out to Sky.
Rest in peace.
Raphael, do you think Nwaneri will start for Arsenal this week?
Oh, I can't say that I'm clued up enough in Arsenal's lineups recently. Let me have a quick look.
I'm not sure. I mentioned him in my differentials video because the thinking was we'll probably get a leak. We'll probably know the team.
I'd be surprised. I think I would just expect it to be honest, probably just Trossard, Martinelli, Saka, and then Havertz come on. If not, then maybe I would assume Havertz would start if he was fit. I mean, Arsenal don't need to win, so maybe they could play some sort of players like Nwaneri. But I don't think if there's a team leak, I think it's a good shout, as you said, but I wouldn't be making that transfer unless you knew for sure he was starting.
I'll ask a couple more questions and we'll take a look at how your team got on last week. Is Harvey Barnes a good transfer in?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of what I said earlier. I think I just wouldn't be going for Newcastle midfielders, to be honest. Barnes has been great. Actually, I remember from our Sky podcast being really, really keen on Barnes. I think it was when he was still at Leicester.
Was it? Okay.
But yeah, I think I would just prioritise other teams, to be honest.
Yeah, fair. Okay. Oh, the one memory of a Leicester player from Sky that I can remember is Iheanacho when he went on like a mega run and I didn't have him. That was a memory that you've just brought up for me there.
We were talking about him actually at work today because he's at Middlesbrough now, I think.
Oh man, he's ruined their season. I think signing for Middlesbrough, to be honest.
Yeah, so like they were like, "Oh yeah, he's been really poor," and I was like, I just think of him as this class player because of how good he was.
He was, yeah.
Sky. And also I used to live near Leicester and I went to a couple of games and he was always good then. So, but I guess not. Can't say I've watched much of the Championship this season, to be honest.
And then Paul's left a comment about another player, but I wanted to turn it into a question. So he's talked about someone high up in the ranks as well, not taking a single hit. Have you taken any hits this season?
I'll quickly flick through.
Sorry, I'm asking you to check all through your history. No worries.
No, it's I'm pretty sure I have, but I don't think I've taken many. And so it's like I don't know. I think I'm typically sort of more reluctant to take a hit than other players. Like I basically decided last week. I knew that bringing in Watkins meant that I couldn't get to Saka without a hit, and I basically decided that I'd rather captain Watkins last week than captain Saka this week because I think there's better alternatives this week. And I don't think anything would make me change now. Here we go. In game week 19, I took a -4, and I think, yeah, that was it. Just game week 19. So let's have a look. What were those moves?
I don't have a screen share option, I'm afraid. I've got too few screens for everything, so you're gonna have to talk through it if you don't mind. So
I did. This is a bit random. Milenkovic to Timber.
Okay.
Unless it's the other way around. Oh no, sorry, other way around.
Okay.
So I did Timber to Milenkovic, Cunha to Haaland, and then Mbomo to Rodgers. So it must have been because I was wanting to get Haaland in.
Nice. Right. Hopefully this next screen should be... Oh, it's not. So we just got a look at your team and how it got on last week, if you don't mind, mate. Are you able to... You're right to just talk through your team and how it's gotten on in the last week?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously the big sort of hero for me, I think, was Konsa. 15 points from him is mega, and he was pretty low owned. And I think that helped a lot because quite a lot of people had Martinez. Obviously, I started Raya, which amazingly got 7 points. I was not expecting that at all. Getting saves bonus and the clean sheet. So yeah, those two were big. Salah disappointing again, but it is what it is. And Bomo taking along. Bowen has been honestly those three, like Mbomo, Eze, Bowen, have been so important to my season. Yeah. Especially I'd say like Eze, Bowen. I think Mbomo's been pretty highly owned, but I think I was on those two, Eze and Bowen, quite early. And I remember saying to you before we went live that I was fuming because I had Diaz coming off the bench for Eze for a clean sheet, and then all of a sudden Eze came on, and then City conceded, and then Eze scored.
You
and
went
I was
through
like,
the rigor
"Whoa."
then, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean Eze has been, he's definitely, as I said earlier, he's been my star player this season. And then yeah, Rodgers ticking along. Watkins' captain was a bit disappointing, but he was so highly captained, and also like all the popular captains flopped, so it was fine. And yeah, then yeah, Vissa just ticking along as well. So yeah, I mean 72 points. Yeah, the average was 39, so pretty big week for me.
Very healthy. And you halved your rank in that time by the looks of it as well. You must have been 66k overall, 36, and then yeah, half your rank. Good job.
Yeah, no, pretty happy with it. I mean, again, like a lot of that was just, getting 7 points off Raya was just luck. Like, there was no mad skill in that. Like, that was just fortunate. And Consa, I'll take a bit of credit for. I didn't think he'd score, but I knew playing United was a favourable fixture,
Yeah,
so that's
definitely.
why I started him.
Definitely. All right. After that, then we can take a look at. Well, so this is how Fantasy Football Hub has lined you up based on predicted points. So you got free reign to obviously pick your 11 for yourself, but we just got your team and its expected points for next week. Any rough ideas for what you're going to do?
Yeah, so I mean, at the minute, my bench is Areola, Eze, Diaz, Ruben Diaz, and Saliba.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Saliba's injured, so he'll definitely be last on my bench. I don't think I'm going to waste. I've only got one free transfer. I don't think there's any point using it on a defender.
Oh, you don't want to be doing that. Yeah, I agree.
So I'm happy to just leave him last on my bench. And then, yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel weird about Eze. I think I'll either sell Eze or I'll start him. I think I haven't found room for him in my team yet. I'd maybe start him over Rodgers. But yeah, I'll have to wait and see sort of for team news and once I decide who I'm going to transfer in and out, because if Isak is definitely out, then I feel like I might have to transfer him out because I don't know how comfortable I'd feel with a bench of Eze, Ruben Diaz, and Saliba, and also having Isak in there, because if Isak isn't going to play, Eze might not play, Diaz might not play, Saliba's definitely not playing. So I think I'd probably get rid of Isak if I knew he was going to be out. Otherwise, then yeah, I think either Eze or Rodgers for the likes of Semenyo. And then I don't know who I'm going to captain yet. I'll have to wait and see.
Cross that bridge when it comes. Yeah, I'm in a similar position. I think most people are just waiting on Isak news, aren't they? I don't think you can trust what Eddie Howe says in a press conference. I'm of the mind, I think if Isak isn't fit, I think I'll probably bring in Evan Nilsson. Or you were saying Danny Welbeck as well. And actually, the more I think about it, the more I think bringing in a Brighton player might be the way to go. Because I don't know, I think it still could play out this way where if they qualify 8th, they could still get Conference League. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, depending on how Chelsea finish. So both them and Brentford are in contention for 8th. So they both have something left to play for. Whereas I think Bournemouth, they're just, after losing to Man City, I think they've got no hope of Europe now. They're out of it. So yeah, that's something to consider. Who would you say, if you had to sell Isak right now, who would be your favourite replacement?
I think Evan Nelson's probably the most sensible pick, but I think I would go for Welbeck.
Yeah.
Because I want to chase. I think the effective ownership of Bowen and Salah is going to be really high. So I think it'll be tough to make gains unless I bring in someone that's going to be really against the template. So I think, yeah, I'd probably go, because I think if Isak's out, I think Isak to Evan Nelson will be like,
yeah, he's going to be the most popular,
the biggest transfer. So
yeah, I like it. I was also, depending on if I can make a transfer in my midfield as well, I was thinking of Matoma as well. I agree on the Brighton fixture against Tottenham. And yeah, I didn't realise their trophy parade was on Friday. That's really funny. So
yeah, I think that's true. I'll double check.
No, no problem.
But yeah, actually, Matoma was another big player for me. I had him on my free hit thanks to Bobby. Shout out to Bobby.
Oh, what a legend! Absolutely, yeah.
He did his video and he recommended Matoma, and then Matoma didn't start. And I remember messaging him being like, "I hate you," and then he came on and scored. I think he came on and got a brace, or at least got one.
Yeah. I'm going to share
Oh
Bobby's
no,
channel in the chat as well, actually, if people want to check it out. He's fantastic.
he got 6 points. He didn't get race, 6 points, but it was one of those like he was so low owned that 6 points was massive.
Yeah.
So yeah, big shout out Bobby for that.
I'll just put it in the chat a second. He's done really well. He's creeping up on 4,000 subscribers. Good for him.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day on Sky, he was hesitating about starting a YouTube channel. So I hope he's glad he did that now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, from what I've spoken to him about it, I think he's getting on well for sure.
Right, I'll go back to some questions from the chat if that's okay. I want to transfer out Cunha or Sarr. I've got a very template team and want a differential. Who would you recommend?
Well, I think Sarr. It kind of depends where you are. I think Sarr is a better player to sell, but it depends if you want a really big risk. Then I think Cunha. I think in that scenario, I think I'd probably sell Sarr and go for Semenyo.
Yeah,
like that would probably be my thinking.
Fair enough. I'd drop Matoma in there as well as an option if you can afford him. Obviously, he's a bit more expensive than Sarr, but yeah, I'd drop Matoma in as well. And funny enough, the next question is Matoma a good shout? I think probably both agree we quite like Matoma.
Yeah, I think Matoma or Minte. I think if whoever of those two is starting, I think is a really good shout for sure.
Yeah. Abbas asks, what, Ben, is your main way of picking players? Would you say you're an eye test guy, stats guy, analytics guy?
I would say, but mostly not even necessarily stats, just like history. Like I just, I've been watching the Premier League for long enough now, and I've been playing fantasy long enough now that I feel like I can tell when someone is sort of so it's literally like what we were saying earlier about Sarr.
Yeah.
Like if I knew that, Sarr's a great player, but I knew that I didn't think he would be able to maintain that form. Whereas at the time, Eze was in a bad patch of form, but I knew that there was a good chance he could turn that around because of his history. So I think that's my main thing. I just always sort of go with. I tend to try and avoid those sort of like flashy players. So like this season again has probably been Barnes. I've never owned Barnes, even though I really highly rate him as a player. I just didn't think he would hold that form. Murphy, actually, to be fair, is probably another example that he has held it. So I did own him. So yeah, I think that's my main thing.
Thank you, mate. Well, Tom is asking, would you start Kirkez or Marmouche for Game Week 38 if you had a choice?
So you're playing again. That sort of depends. My inclination would probably be Kirkez, but I would say the ceiling of Marmouche is probably a lot higher. But yeah, I think depending on your team, I think for me I would probably go Kirkez.
Yeah, I agree. Whenever someone asks me a similar question on a deadline stream, like a defender versus an attacker, 95% of the time I say just pick the attacker. But I think you just don't know what Marmouche's minutes are going to be like, do you? You can't have any level of certainty that he's definitely going to start, I suppose. And Kirkez obviously has the good fixture. It's pretty ridiculous from an attacking perspective. So that's a really close one. I think wait for a leak and see what happens. My gut feel would be Kirkez, I think, if you were to ask me. Terry has asked, Welbeck or Gakpo, which of them will score the most points this week?
I mean, I probably wouldn't consider Gakpo. I mean, Luis Diaz could start, and you just cannot predict where the points are going to come from Liverpool at the minute. So I think Welbeck, but I think that's either of them could haul and both of them could blank. That's just go for your gut on that one, I think.
As you're a Liverpool fan, because I think that's quite an important game for this game week, Liverpool Crystal Palace. Because we've got a lot of everyone's got either Salah or lots of Crystal Palace players. What do you reckon is going to happen in that game?
I mean, I think it'll be pretty high scoring. I think we'll win because I think we've got more to play for than Palace because it's our trophy lift and it's at Anfield. And I think it's going to be a send off for quite a lot of players. I think we could see I think there'll be I don't know, we might be full strength, or I could see players like Kelleher starting because
Mm.
he's going to leave in the summer, almost certainly. And like maybe like people like Elliot or Simicast. So yeah, I think we'll win. I think it'll be relatively high scoring. I think we'll concede. But yeah, I think that's the game that you could get someone that scores a hat trick or a brace, but it's so like it's impossible really to decide who that's going to be.
And based on the fact you said it'll be quite a high scoring game, I think you said you were looking to start Munoz this week. I think quite a lot of people have got, well, just with the way the template's gone, a few defenders that they could start. Do you think Munoz is a pretty safe person to put in your 11 in FPL, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the alternatives are Diaz and Saliba, and I'm not so sure. I'm not confident that City will get a clean sheet against Fulham, so I don't want to start two defenders, and Saliba's obviously injured. So for me, it's kind of a circumstance, but I don't think Munoz is a bad shot anyway because he's so attacking.
Yeah.
And I think I'd be pretty surprised if we kept a clean sheet. So he could score, get an assist easily. So I don't think he's a bad shout at all. I definitely don't think he's someone you need to sell.
No worries. Let's see, we got another question. Yeah, Isak has been transferred out by over 300,000 managers, which is quite interesting. One thing I would say about Isak, though, just because I think he's got to go for surgery after the season finishes anyway for what's up with his knee. And I think, did he miss the Arsenal game for a groin injury? So he's like got a couple of things bothering him. So I just don't know. I think it probably explains why he's not been quite on form in recent weeks either, that he's just carrying a couple of injuries. Like even if he does start, I would worry a little bit about just like his physical condition, I would say. I don't know if you've had any thoughts into that.
Yeah, I mean, Isak's a player that I've been pretty high on for a while. I remember it's one of the very rare transfer shouts I've gotten right in my football fandom. But I remember saying, I think it was after Euro 2020, to my mate, Liverpool need to go and get that Alexander Isak. He's incredible.
Yeah.
And then obviously went to Newcastle from Sociedad and has been incredible. But yeah, his injury record is definitely a concern. And I can't imagine. I mean, Newcastle need to win. Callum Wilson was pretty dreadful last week. So if he's fit, he'll play. But if there's a risk, I can't imagine they'll want to risk him, and I can't imagine he'll want to risk it in case he does.
Yeah.
I don't think he will, but in case he does go in a transfer this season or this summer. So that's a coin flip. I'm inclined to think he'll start, but I don't think he'll play 90. So it's just whether or not that's enough.
No worries. Thank you. I'm going to ask a couple of questions based off this next one. I'll ask Jason's question in whole, and I'm going to turn it into a question of my own. So Jason's currently winning his mini league by 1 point. He's got one transfer. His friend has two transfers. And apparently his friend's going to go very aggressive with his picks. So in return, should Jason play it safe or go aggressive? What do you reckon?
I mean, this is something I think we always say in our Twitter chat when we're freaking out about things. But I think, to be honest, you need to just ignore what other people are doing and just pick the players you think are going to score the most points. And so, if he's going for, I don't know, like Matoma and Semenyo, just go for Bowen and Salah, because it's more likely than not that Bowen and Salah will score more. They might not, and that'll suck, but I think it'd be more annoying to copy someone, especially when they're below you. Like, it'd be more annoying to copy someone below you and it go wrong than if you just pick the players that you think will do the best.
Yeah.
So then you can have no regrets. Then it's just variance.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Yeah, it's really good advice. Clivert. Okay, Clivert scored in the reverse fixture at home in game week 23, apparently, but Paul's saying he still loves the Semenyo pick. Nixie's doing Savinio to Bowen. Tell me a transfer that's more obvious. Yeah, I think that's a pretty obvious move, isn't it, if you can do it?
I saw Nixie ask me about my rank history, and I don't want to hide from that question. So
yeah, fine.
I'll be totally honest. This has been a flash in the pan season. I mean, my first season was 354k, then 138, 197 in 22-23. That was a bad season, but that was a good season on Sky, so that's why. And then my best season was last season. I got 72k, and then now I'm 36th, which is a pretty crazy uptake. But I think part of it's probably because I'm not playing Sky, and so I'm able to focus a bit more on FPL.
Yeah, I was much like, even though I made videos about FPL, the game that I had like more affinity to my ranking was definitely Sky, because I just felt like you had so much more control over your rank in that game as well. Because people didn't know you could set a captain for every day there was a game of Premier League football, and you could make a transfer whenever you wanted. You had, what was it, 40? Was it 50 towards the end, actually? There was 50 transfers
50
in total.
One,
yeah, so you had real control over your team, and you really had to plan out the transfers in terms of fixtures. So it did take up a lot of time, and it's just a shame that it's gone. There is, of course, like I've forgotten what the game's, Cloud FF, isn't it, that Ian Parron and co are running, that is sort of a replacement of that. But yeah, I'm completely there with you on Sky. That definitely took up more of my focus.
Yeah, it was just, you had to be more engaged, and it rewarded you more for being engaged, so it was worth it. Like, I mean, like, I'm 36, that's amazing. Like, I'm blown away by that. And like, a couple more good calls and I could have won, which would have been crazy. But like, I never, I don't expect to ever finish as high again, and I definitely don't expect to ever win. Whereas with Sky, I could see that happening. I could see myself winning that, and also the prize was 50 grand.
It wasn't. It wasn't a scratch, whatever you call it. Yeah, it was a fantastic prize. Yeah.
So yeah, and also, like, this might be a controversial statement, but I hate chips. I think chips play even more into luck than skill, which makes me sound like a proper nerd. But I just like having control of my team more, and things like, especially like triple captain or even assistant manager, because that's.
I was going to ask you about assistant manager. Yeah.
So I went Glasner in those 2 weeks that he got like the big hauls,
right?
And then I think I moved to Emery, and I can't remember. It was Emery against Liverpool, wasn't it? And someone else, I can't remember what he got on that. So yeah, I mean, that was huge for me as well. But I don't mind it assistant manager as much as a chips. I think there is some skill in that, but like things like triple captain and bench boost are just so fluky. Like, whereas in Sky, at least you had a bit more control. But anyway, I won't keep going on about Sky.
No, it's all good. I quite like reminiscing. What else we got? Just check through the questions. Ali is on his bench boost. He's got one free transfer. His bench is Saliba, Mikalenko, Matthews in goal, and Sarr on the bench. How many transfers should he make? He's also got Isak in his starting 11. I think I'd sell Isak. I'd sell Saliba if it was me, if he's injured and you're bench boosting. That would be my gut feel.
Let me find that comment so I can see all the different.
Yeah, no worries. It was Ali,
players.
Just between Nixie and Andy Burton, if you can see them. Probably a little bit further ahead than you are at the moment.
I've just seen Getty's comment about the crumble. Up the crumble.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, here we go. Saliba, Mikalenko, Matthews, and Sarr. I don't know who Matthews is, to be honest.
I'm glad you said that, because I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't think he's a starting keeper.
No.
But I wouldn't take a hit for a keeper, no. I don't think. I mean, depends. It depends who the keeper in your lineup is. I guess, like, taking a hit for someone like Raya would be worth it. And maybe Areola, because you've got Ipswich, but that's a judgment call. I think Saliba, you've got, like, that's 100% you've got to transfer out Saliba. I think Mikalenko, I think I'd probably just be inclined to keep him.
He's all right,
Sarr, I think I'd wait for lineups on Sarr. If Sarr's benched, I probably would take a hit to sell him, because I think there's loads of good midfielders. But if Sarr was playing, then I would definitely just keep him. And yeah, same with Isak. I think if Isak's starting, I wouldn't take a hit. If you find out he's not starting, then I would be willing to take a hit for that. So yeah, I don't think you need to take any more than maybe 2 hits maximum. So get rid of Saliba, and then I would get rid of Matthews, maybe. That's up to you. And then yeah, Isak and Sarr, depending on if they're starting.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, by the way, I meant to ask you this before we actually started the stream. Have you got to be anywhere this evening? How long have I got you? I'll probably go for another 10 minutes if that's all right. I reckon we got 10 minutes worth of questions. What else we got? A couple people asking if Isak starts. I don't think anyone knows, really, to be honest.
I'm inclined to think he will.
Yeah?
I know the training photos came out today and he wasn't in any of them, but that kind of almost makes me feel like it's more likely that he will play, which is, I don't know. I think you're just going to have to wait and see the lineups. I'm definitely going to keep him in my team until the last minute. And if there's any any sort of he might play, I won't transfer him out. I'll just keep him, and worst case, someone come off the bench.
Yeah,
I think he'll either start or not be in the lineup. It's one of those. So it's, I don't think you don't have to worry about like a 1-pointer off the bench.
Yeah, especially seeing how Wilson played without him as well. I completely agree. If he's even remotely fit, he's not going to come off the bench. He's starting. Absolutely agree. Any other questions? Do you reckon we'll get some leaks? I think we probably do.
I think we always do on the last day of the season. It just depends sort of what teams people want. I think Isak will be the big one for everyone.
Yeah.
Probably like De Bruyne. I know he's quite highly owned. So yeah, I think there'll definitely be some leaks. I think as long as you're not busy on Sunday afternoon, it's definitely worthwhile holding your transfers and waiting and see what happens.
I was just thinking then, is there because I remember, I think we've talked about it in our Twitter chat, when you get some Newcastle leaks, there are some questionable accounts, I think, that share Newcastle news, aren't there? Do you have one in? Because I actually don't have a Newcastle leak account in mind that I actually trust.
No, I mean, to be honest, I'll just make the judgment at the time based on what the account is.
Yeah.
Unless it's someone I really trust, I just always err on the side of not making the transfer. So like, I can't even think off the top of my head. There's plenty of accounts that are good, but there's so many. I'm gonna find out who it is. To be honest, there is an account.
Is it NUFC Will? News. He's done me over a couple of times.
Yeah,
nothing against the guy. Well, actually, I do have something against the guy personally because he's done me over. But I'm pretty sure it's NUFC Will or something like that.
I think there was a Newcastle account which I would recognise if I saw them.
Yeah.
And they always share team news, and I'll never trust them because I remember years ago in one of our chats, someone said, "Oh, Lukaku's going back to Chelsea, lads. I've got insider information. Put a bet on." I didn't do it, and he did, and I could have got the money there. And that guy, this Newcastle account, tweeted saying Tierney done deal to Newcastle. I put like 50 quid on it, and then obviously it didn't happen. So he's now dead to me. So yeah, I think Newcastle news, just anytime there's team leaks, I would always err on the side of whatever means you're not making the transfer, because it's so much more annoying to transfer out a player and they start than to have them in your team and they don't start.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, absolutely agree. We've got FPL Have a Beer here. Good to see you, mate. It's great to see your channel's been absolutely flying recently. Yeah, you said Geddy from Royal Crumble. Good to have him here. Would you play double City defence or double Arsenal defence if you had the choice?
Oh, double Arsenal every day of the week.
Yeah, completely agree. What else we got? Oh, that was another one I was going to ask you, actually. Guessing that, well, you're in 36th overall, so I'm guessing you're in a pretty healthy position in some of your mini leagues as well. Are you able to share how you're getting on in some of those? Are you in any like big ones that you're amongst the top of?
I mean, obviously, most importantly, I'm top of the Golden Goal mini league.
I'll have to send you. Well, if you win, there'll be a mug and a sticker in the post, and obviously as a thank you for coming on here as well.
Beautiful. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, unfortunately, I mean, even though I've just talked about a 50 quid bet I put on Tierney winning Newcastle, I tend to not gamble too much.
Yeah.
And so I don't really join all these big cash leagues, especially with FPL. I didn't mind it as much in Sky because it was sort of regulated by Sky Bet, but it just goes against my sort of judgment. Doesn't matter how big the account is. I don't want to send some random account.
Yeah.
However much money. And also it's a game. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to be stressed about money. But I think there's some leagues that I'm in that have a payout. The main one, I mean, I'm in Mediocre 64, Division 1. I've won that after a pretty big battle with FPL Kieran, which was good fun. I know I don't get money for that, but that was a big league that I'm in. And then, yeah, I think the main one is I'm in the Fantasy Football Hub's free league, but I've asked staff and no one seems to know what the prize is for that. If there is a prize, I don't mind if there's not a prize. I just would like to know. I've looked in the past and it's been £1,000, and I've looked in other times it's been, a membership. So I don't mind. I'm not begging for a prize. I just like to know. But yeah, I'm top of that by I think 10 or 15 points. So I shall have a look.
I'll have to, if anyone, so who are you trying to, because we can get people to tweet them as well. If you tweet Will or Fergie from Fantasy Football Hub, ask him what their prize is.
Yeah, I don't want to condone pestering anyone. I don't want, I'm sure if there is a prize, I'll
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah,
be
no worries.
informed at some point.
No worries. What else we got? I'll ask you a couple more. Joey Lowe is asking, I think it's a decent question actually. So he's got Cunha at the moment. Would you play Cunha or would you transfer him out for Welbeck or Evan Nilsson?
Who do Wolves have again? So like Brentford at home. I mean, I guess there's definitely potential that Cunha won't play. In fairness, because I mean, it looks like he's definitely going to United and he won't want to get injured. Um, but I would say he probably will play. I think that's just team dependent. I think if you can afford to make that, I'd say that's like a luxury move. I don't think Cunha's a player you need to get rid of. But if you can afford to get rid of him and you really fancy Evan Nelson or Welbeck or Gakpo or whatever, then yeah, by all means, I wouldn't discourage you from doing that. But I would say there's more highly owned players that you're pretty likely to have that I would say are more important to transfer out. So yeah, just depends on your team.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, very good answer. We got FPL Tom in the chat. Good friend of mine, Cortex, as well. He's asking best differential for this week. He's listed 3: Trossard, Matoma, and Harvey Barnes. They're his 3 that he's named.
Of those three, I would say if he starts Matoma, definitely. I think Trossard, I'd be too worried about minutes now. With Howard's back, and Barnes probably similar. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, all three of them are pretty big minutes
Yeah.
risks. But yeah, I think if all three start, I would probably still go Matoma, but I wouldn't discourage anyone from going. I wouldn't. I think of the three, I wouldn't go for Barnes. I think the other two are fair enough if they both start.
I'd completely agree with what you said there. Yeah, I think Matoma for me would be the one, just because I think he's guaranteed to start. I'd be very surprised if he didn't start on the final week when they still have something left to play for. Last couple more. Well, if you've actually had a troll in your team this season, I wonder if you actually have. But Andy is saying, who has been the biggest troll for you this season, if you've had any?
Let me flick through and see if anything. There's nothing that immediately springs to my mind.
I've been done over by Aina a couple of times. He's hauled, I think, he got maybe 3 double-digit hauls this season, and each time he did that, he was on my bench. So he scored 50 points or so when he was on my bench, which is quite frustrating.
That is brutal. I think maybe the one that springs to mind, the player that's maybe annoyed me the most is Mamouche. I've done like a complete 180 on him. I still think he's a really good player, but I was lucky enough to go to the Liverpool City match, and that was one of Mamouche's first games, I think. And I remember just being like, he is incredible. So as soon as there was a chance to get him into our team when Hallam was injured, I was like, right, great, I'll get him.
He has been a bit disappointing, hasn't he? Just in general, yeah.
Yeah, he started off well and then kind of has fallen off. Thankfully, I kind of came off him early enough. But so maybe him. I think for a lot of people, Palmer, but thankfully I've not really dealt with that. Or do you remember Dango?
Yes.
He was a big one as well. I had him for ages and he did nothing. But yeah, I think maybe those three would be the first that I can think of.
All right, I'll ask you a couple. I'll do 2 more. I'll pick 2 more. Cortex, good question again. If you've got one player you would say has been the most consistent for you, but you're not allowed to say Salah, who would you say?
Over the whole season, probably Bomo, I think. I think recently Eze. He's been amazing, as I said earlier. But yeah, over the whole season, I'd probably say maybe Mbomo. I mean, he's been incredible. And it's a shame because I think he's going to be very expensive next season, to be honest.
Yes.
Especially if he moves. I think here's my prediction. I think he might go Newcastle. But yeah, I think probably Mbomo would be the big one for me. I mean, just looking at my team, that's the only player that. Let me go back to game week 1 and see who I had. I did have Eze, actually.
Based on what I saw your team looks like, I'd put Bowen in there as well, considering what he's done in recent weeks as well. Not that you've had him you've had him for a while as well, to be fair, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, Isak's been good as well, but he's been like really like up and down. So I don't know if I'd call him consistent. It's just been owning him at the right time. So yeah, I think probably Mbomo would be my number 1.
And speaking of trolls, Nixie's just reminded me, I didn't have Nkunku. Did you have Nkunku at the start?
No, I went without him. He
Yeah,
was in my
good
team
call.
for a while, but I think I couldn't afford to have him because I had Salah and Haaland. So
Oh,
I think I had him in like fan team and stuff, but I didn't have him in
yeah.
FPL.
What about Quanso as well? Did you pick him?
No, I've never, because Quansa has had we were talking about this in work again today. Like Quansa has had a really weird. I thought he was going to be huge for us, and he's just not really going to be. I don't think he's great anymore, unfortunately. And yeah, so thankfully I dodged that. I had Trent at the start of the season, who we don't talk about anymore. And then after that, I think anytime I've had a Liverpool defender, it's been Van Dijk.
Yeah, fair enough. And one more question, then we'll ask you one more because I'm conscious of time. Who, if you could put your finger on one week that you would say has been your best week, or if you can't necessarily do that, have you had like one captain this week that has absolutely been an absolute monster for you?
Let me flick through and have a. I mean, I think the most important week for me has been game week 31 when I played my wild card, because that then led to like I had a good week that week, then I had a good triple captain week, a good bench boost, good free hit, and then these past couple of weeks have been really good as well. So I think that's like the week that I went from, top 10k to top 100. I don't know if that's exactly right ranks, but that's definitely where it felt like I've gone from a very good finish to like a weirdly good finish. Other than that, let me flick and see. I mean, that was all my assistant manager. I've just looked. So my assistant manager weeks, I got. Oh no, I didn't have Glasner. I had Glasner in the third week. I started off with Moyes.
Did you do Moyes, Emery, Glasner? Yeah, 54 points I think that did, didn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, so I got 126 points in the first week, 105 in the second, and 110 with a hit in the third. So that's pretty. Those I would say, yeah. So I mean, as much as I hate chips, they've probably been a really big thing for me this season.
That's good. Well, to be fair, that's pretty honest of you if you can say you don't like chips, but they've really helped you this season. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think we'll sign off there, mate, if that's all right. I don't want to keep you much longer, and I think we're kind of running out of questions, if that's okay. Is there anything I missed at all that's worth bringing up, mentioning at all? I think we've been pretty conclusive there.
Yeah, no, I think that's all. I mean, I've seen G-Wiz in the chat saying that they're 30th, so fair play to them. They're higher than me.
I'm not sure he is, though, because I think G-Wiz has been quite a lot of my streams, and I reckon he's in the Golden Goal Mini League, and you're number one. So I reckon he might be telling a porky there.
We'll see. But yeah, no. I think that's everything. I mean, if anyone ever wants to, I'm always happy to chat fantasy. Yeah. So I think you've put my my Twitter in. So if people want to ask any more questions, I'm pretty open. Like I'm not too worried about discussing my plans. So if people want to message me, feel free.
Yeah, good man. And as Ben said, there's a link to his Twitter in the description, and I've put it in the chat a couple of times as well, so you should be able to get to that nice and easily. I'll sign off then. Thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like rating on the stream. And thank you very much, Ben, for coming on. It's been great to chat to you again.
Yeah, great to speak to you, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Good luck, everyone.